They're not absolute. If they are right, you can find phone and switch off.
See, I try hard to
Because of the fog, my feeling is
we are running a few minutes late.
the microphone on.
Okay. We asked me to call, but we sent an email and they told me to. Normal use take here. Mother. One minute, they are almost here, so we can wait for 2 minutes, but let's announce that. If you give the microphone, I can announce. Good morning, everyone. We have one or two of the faculty members that we are waiting for, and so we'll be starting just in a couple of minutes. So please bear with us.
Good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome to our workshop at Hindu Temple of Central Texas for Baylor University. We have been working with Baylor University for almost 10 years. Religiously, every year we had this workshop. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we were not able to do it in person. And I hope after COVID is over, you all will have a chance to come over here and see in person the structures, the functionality, and the feel you get as if you are in India for a brief period of time. I just want to give a brief idea what this temple is about. Of course, it's in Temple, Texas. It's not far from highway, just right next to interstate. I just want to mention a few key tenets of why we have the temple and about Hinduism. And key principles are its openness and transparency. Everything is open to everybody here. And other key principles are love and respect for others, and peace and non-violence is very important. And you will see right now, you see the picture of goddess that you are watching. Respect for women is very important. And also you will notice by end of the workshop, respect for animal kingdom is critically important. And primary function of the temple is help the spiritual needs of the community and community at large. And also try our best to help with the basic needs of the community, particularly people that are in need in terms of food and health. Along those lines, we also like to help our educational institutions with regarding understanding of Hinduism and India. So those have been our key principles in making this temple function for the community. The basic activities of today are one presentation by Dr. Shivatmananda ji, and he has been doing it for the last 10 years religiously every year. And we are blessed to have him on an ongoing basis, and he's from Chenmaya Mission, and you will be seeing him. Actually, you see him right in the middle. And then we have Dr. Y.V. Rao. He's one of the founders of the temple, and he will be speaking on structures and its importance to Hinduism. And he has the shirt with Om on all over his body. And then we have Mr. Gene Silverbutt. He's an expert in yoga, and he'll be speaking on yoga and give basic information on yoga. And the programs have been made possible over the years on a consistent basis with the help of Professor Jason Whitlack and Professor David Zori, and working with Dr. Prasanna Nair, who is one of the founders of the temple. And today's function, the technical expertise, all that help. We are blessed to have our priest Sri Ramji, Mr. Subi Madhavan, and Mr. Gopal. Without any additional losing time here, and I will hand it over to Swami Shivatmananda ji.
He's doing first.
Sorry, we'll start with Dr. Y.V. Rao.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Y.V. Rao. I'm one of the devotees of the temple. And my presentation is part of Hinduism, that is Sanatana Dharma, which Swamiji will explain in a later session. Hindus believe in Brahman, one God we call Brahman, who has no shape, no form or other attributes. He pervades the whole universe like air we breathe, energy that we cannot see. Is also known by other names such as Atman, Paramatman, or Om. The ultimate, eternal, the all-pervading, conscious principle is Om. The word Om is God, and God is Om. Even in Christian religion, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and Word is God, John 1:1. We also see 18 steps. These steps are to attain salvation. And I will explain that at a later time when we are explaining the deities. The ultimate, eternal, all-pervading consciousness is Om, like I said. Upanishads are a division of Vedas, and Vedas are the basis for Hinduism. One of the 10 important Upanishads are Mandukya Upanishad. It expounds on the concept of Om and elaborates the meaning and significance of Om. Our temple has the traditional name of Omkar Mahaganapati. We have a Om sign behind Ganapati in our main temple, and we also have a Om sign in front on the Om platform. Okay. Om actually is spelled as A-U-M. Though we usually put O-M, it is spelled as A-U-M. The three letters representing the three states of human life, which I will explain at later time. See, on the platform outside, we have the Om sign. On one side, we have a Sanskrit version of the first sloka of Mandukya Upanishad. On the other side, we have the English version. For lack of time, I will explain the English version. It says, the symbol of Paramatman is Om. The word is all this. The explanation is as follows. All that is past, present, and future verily is Om. That which is beyond the three periods of time is also indeed Om. The Upanishad says all that is past, present, and future is verily Om. All that was, that is, and that shall be, meaning the entire world of objects cognized by our forefathers, by ourselves, by our children. The entire world has but one substratum, which is unchanging in all the three periods of time and is presented by the symbol Om. AUM represents matter envelopment as well as the spiritual centers behind it all. We mentioned there are three states of human life. We find that there are three planes of consciousness, namely the waking state, the dream state, and the deep sleep state. And there is also a fourth one, which is called Turiya, which transcends the other three planes with the entire merging into Brahman to become the whole. So there are four Mahavakyas, or we want to call them a great statement. And one of those Mahavakyas is from this Upanishad called I am Atma Brahma, which means this Atman is Brahman. I would also like to mention here that we are discussing about the Paramatman. Also we'll be discussing about the soul, that's a Jivatman, and also this universe itself. So the reason I had to mention that is we will be talking about the human being in the next few paragraphs. So human being is the shadow of the Paramatma, doesn't have an existence of its own. Whereas God, the shadow is the soul. And the universe is the one that is considered as Maya, appears as Mother Nature or the universe. We talked about the three states, of which the first state is the waking state. The Jivatman, or the soul, or the human person, has faculties such as organs of action, organs of perception, and pranas, the mind, the intellect, and the ego. The waking state is, in this state, the ego is called Vaishvanara, enjoys the pleasure obtained by the activities of the senses and is aware of the world of sense objects. The mind, the conscious mind, directs the activities of the organs of perception, and that's why if an eye sees something, it goes back to the mind, and thought process starts. That the process is a flow. The thought process creates an action as a result, either good or bad. So for any action that is taken during that period of the waking state, the human being or we are responsible for our actions because we are awake. The mind is functioning. Second stage is dream state. In a dream state, the mind is also at rest. It's not functioning. But mind is of two parts. One is the conscious mind, the other is the unconscious mind. Though the body, parts of action and the perception are all, the eyes, nose, and everything else is at rest, the vital breath signs are still functioning, and then the unconscious mind is also working. The unconscious mind, what we call unconscious mind, is a memory that sits in the back of the brain that will record every transaction that takes place. Every thought that has in a human being is recorded in the unconscious mind. So when you are sleeping, there may be some thoughts that you have not solved during your waking state. Those remain in the unconscious mind. Example, take it, you are mad with somebody, and it's so mad that you want to really hurt the person or kill the person. But that you don't do in a waking state, but in a dream state, you may get a dream that's saying that you are doing that, and you look like you are a lion, which you are not. And when you did something in the dream, then you realize, you wake up sweating, and then you find out that it's not true. So dream state is only a feeling that is there, it's not the true thing. The third state is deep sleep state. In this state, all the perceptions, all the organs of action, perception, mind, subconscious mind, everything is completely in sleep. Only thing that is working at that time is the only thing that's working there is your vital signs, the pranas are still working. And you don't know exactly what happened because you have such a sound sleep. It's generally sometime when we have a good sleep and somebody asks you, I really slept very well. So you don't know anything what happened. During that period, what happens is the ego is alert. Ego is what the soul is. So you know if somebody calls you by name saying, John, hey, come over here. John may be in a sleep, but he'll get up and he comes. Means that ego is there. The ego recognizes that name that's called as him, that is the ego. Ego of the person wakes him up. In deep sleep, we do not have the experience except all around ignorance and negativity. They do not know what is happening, but there is entire consciousness in a person seems to have collected into one mass of awareness. This also could be bliss. So that state is an entrance for the other two states that we mentioned earlier. The fourth state is called Turiya state. Some of the Upanishad says Atman alone is thus known as in three states, but the fourth state is the one that is you attain salvation through the state called Turiya. Means the soul is completely geared up to God, and then you will be with pure consciousness. It is like if you want to see, it's like a ray of sunlight passing through a prism, dispersing into 7 colors as a band and merge back into that light. That's how the human life is. You are with Paramatman, there's nothing in between, but then through the prism of the mind, you see these colors that you are a human being, you are doing things, but then when you passes through, the prism passes the prism, you are back to Paramatman. So the human being is only intermittent stage, is not a real existence. It is Paramatman is the only one that is there. Now, we mentioned earlier, Om is spelled as A-U-M. A stands for we represent waking state with A, U represent the dream state, and M represent the deep sleep state. The waking state is superimposed on letter A because the first letter, A, it's most important. Letter U in Sanskrit is recited with a high pitch, pronouncing Om. That is important is for the subconscious mind. And the letter M is pronounced in Sanskrit and absorbs the other two letters, and similar to the deep sleep state. That is all about the Om, and you can see, anytime you come to the temple, you would see the Om sign established outside, and I will be able to explain more if somebody is interested. Now we'll go to the second portion of our presentation. Is the temple architecture. Temple architecture is a decorative sometimes, but is also a tribute to God. And people call it as a sacred architecture. Okay, the people that do the Hindu temples, these temples are more common in India. Of course, they are also there in other parts of the Asia. And this architecture is very special. There are two types of architecture in India now known as South Indian architecture and the North Indian architecture. And of course, there is also a combination. If somebody asks what is the difference between these two types of architectures, this North Indian architecture has a influence of the Mughals or Middle East countries when they came and occupied India. But the architects are so good that they do not reflect any religious fervor in the architecture or design of these. And these architects in India are called sthapatis. And those people design the architecture of the temple based. We use the buildings, we build them. The architecture is, we see as Gopurams, we see Dhvajastambhas, they see Balipitams. The Gopurams are the ones you see as you come to the temple, main temple comes in. There is a main entrance is called Raja Gopuram. Raja Gopuram is a kingly entrance from which the idol of the god comes in and goes out, and everybody comes through that as the Raja Gopuram. Then we have a Prakara Gopuram, means we have a compound wall on all four sides of the property, and there's a Gopuram or the entrances from which people can enter. And there's another called Vimana Gopuram, is a Gopuram that is on the main idol. Those are the Gopurams. This is like the Garbhagudi is, it's on the location of the Garbhagudi is in the eyebrows, if you compare the human body, it's on the center point between the eyebrows, and then the heart is the sanctum, and the feet are Rajagopurams. Then we have the Dhvajastambha. You see, is a pole that's about 25-30 feet tall, about 2 feet diameter. It's a wooden pole, is covered with brass, silver, or gold plating, or whatever you can afford. Dhvajastambha has 3 horizontal perches that represent the Trinity, and then that is the reason they established that one is for those people who used to be, that is the tallest part of the community. And if somebody is coming from out of town, they look at where the temple is, they go for help, either in the night, some food for them if they are coming from out of town. And these temples also used to have money so that they can take care of people in times like COVID, when people are hurting. The kings at that time kept money for them to use for these kinds of purposes. We also have another called Balipitam, is the place for offer fruits or other to God, and there is about 3 to 4 feet tall, and a small platform is there on which you can provide these fruits, and then they circumambulate 2 or 3 times so that they get with a peace of mind, they can go in. So that is called Balipitam. Okay, now we will go to the description of the idols. Okay, idols, we start with Parvati. In the temple, whatever we have in our temple, that's where we are going to discuss now. The description of Parvati is consort of Lord Shiva. Hinduism also believes in a Trinity, Father, Son, and the dissolver of the Holy Spirit, that is Shiva. Parvati is a consort of Lord Shiva, and she is also known as Parvati by several other names. But Parvati is the Shakti, or the power behind him, and she is the goddess of prosperity and progeny. And she, being a Shakti, she incarnates herself as needed to destroy the evil and establish dharma. As Devi, she represents the sum total of the qualities of Parvati, Lakshmi, and Saraswati. The next to her is Shiva. He is the one of the trinities. He is the responsible person for dissolution of the universe. At the end of each kalpa, that's a period, a fixed period in life of the universe. He is worshipped in different forms, but here we represent him in Nirakara, that is no human shape, in the form of a lingam we call, that is a cylindrical form which represents unmanifest pure consciousness. Shiva and Parvati have 3 children, Ganesha, Subramanya, and Ayappa. Shiva is a cosmic dancer, the destroyer of evil, and a great teacher of meditation. He's very simple, likes to have cool water dripping on him continuously. If you see that, there is a pot out there from which water comes in. Then we have Omkara Mahaganapati. He is the main idol of our temple. Ganapati is known as, and is one that removes obstructions in your way. If your purpose is good, he creates obstructions, your purpose is bad, and we worship him before we start any activity, any religious activity. Before every wedding, he has to be prayed before we do things. And if you see him, he has an elephant trunk. The significance is that he has a big head that can absorb all the things the devotees are looking for. He has a big ears you can hear. He has a small mouth, which is a mind, is a wandering mind he can control, like he controls the whole universe. Ganesha is the first manifestation of Om sound, and that as Omkara, then she is known as Omkara Mahaganapati. Then we have Venkateshwara, is one of the incarnations of the Holy Father. Holy Father has several incarnations, 10 of them being most important of them. But in this incarnation, he is the sustainer and protector of the universe. So to sustain, you need to have a wealth. His spouse Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth, and she provides the wealth we need. And he also dresses in glittering gold and silver. Most famous temple for him is in Tirupati in Andhra Pradesh, and which is as rich as the Vatican. And the income is used for establishing educational institutions, shelter to people. And then we have Lakshmi or Padmavati, who is the spouse of Venkateshwara, as I mentioned earlier. as this wealth can be material or spiritual. Pray for spiritual wealth of devotion, love, purity, courage, and divine knowledge. Divine Mother takes care of the welfare of children, blesses the world with health and wealth. Next idol is Subramanya. Subramanya, or we call Muruga, is son of Shiva and Parvati, and he is the leader of divine angels. And he killed a demon called Tarakasura. He is born with 6 heads, fed by 6 mothers. That's why he is also called Kartikeya. Then we have Radha Krishna. Radha Krishna is one of the 10 incarnations. He is the 9th incarnation. He is Lord Vishnu. He came to destroy the wicked, protect the righteous people. Of course, he is very well known in Gita discourses that he has given to Arjuna in 18 chapters. It comes in 700 slokas. And this Gita is considered as the Bible for the Hindus. And he destroyed the wicked people here and then protected the righteous people. Next one is Rama Parivar. Ram Parivar is Lord Rama, is the 7th incarnation, is the most ideal incarnation. He behaves like the perfect person. He did all his actions. So if you have any example of a perfect person, that is Rama. Also, along with him is his wife Sita, brother Lakshmi, and Hanuman, who is the most devoted person. So with all that, he helped, he destroyed the evil people. Okay, then we have Ayyappa, he is the son of Shiva, and his temple is in Kerala. And that's where you have the 18 steps. The 18 steps are the bad qualities that we have in us, and we have to overcome all of those qualities to attain salvation. Then we have Durga. He is the incarnation of Parvati. It has either 8 hands or 10 hands. That it shows that she is the strong, and she can destroy the evil, and she can destroy the bad qualities in you or help you get better. Then we have the Navagrahas, the 9 planets, and those planets, there are some good planets, some bad planets. The position of them while you are born has an effect on you, and so that's why people come here to worship, so that they reduce the bad influence that may have on any of those. Thank you very much. Bye.
Namaste. Good morning to all of you. I will start out with a very simple prayer. I will briefly speak about myself and I will introduce Hinduism. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Good morning. My name is Swami Shivatmananda. I realize it's a mouthful. It's a big name. I'm an ordained Hindu monk, and this name was bestowed upon me when I took the monastic vows in 2015. I was born in India, but pretty much I was raised over here. I did my middle school, high school in Monroeville, Pennsylvania, outside Pittsburgh. And I grew up in this Amish country of Pennsylvania. I went off to do my engineering at Purdue and then went to UC Davis. And I had great interest in learning Eastern philosophy. So I did Sanskrit at UC Berkeley. And it was over there I met a great professor who truly introduced Hinduism to me, Dr. Beverly Thompson. She's no more, but she introduced Hinduism in such a beautiful way. I completely understood, and I worked as a hardware design engineer for about 10 years. And that's when I decided at the age of 30 to go back to India, entered a monastery. I studied in the seminary school over there for about 3 years. Then I remained as a wandering Hindu monk in the Himalayas, and I wanted to learn the ways of the life of a Hindu monk, and I did that. And I wanted to just settle down over there, but my teacher asked me to come back to United States since I spoke English and I grew up over here to continue working in the monastery over here. So I came to Chinmay Mission Monastery in Los Angeles. I was there for about 5 years in Anaheim, right next to Disneyland. And then I came to Austin in 2008. Just last year, I have been transferred to our monastery in San Antonio. I'm starting a new monastery over there. So that's my little background. Today we will see Hinduism. Hinduism can be quite complicated, but at the same time it is very simple if we understand the principles behind it. So there are 9 simple principles I'm going to present to you, and I'll try to make it as simple as possible. First is the Hindu philosophy, non-dual philosophy, talks about the whole created world as well as the denizens of the world. Everything basks in the light of awareness. And it is called a monastic philosophy. It is not monotheistic. If we say monotheistic, that means there is one God in heaven. But Hinduism says there is only God. So in this way, it differs from a lot of religions on this planet. It's one of the oldest religion on this planet, and it says we believe only in the existence of God. Only in the existence of God. Nothing exists separate from God. God is a supreme truth, and we have a sound symbol to represent God. If God alone is all names, all forms, then how do you actually transact with the nameless, formless God? So we have this sound symbol, it's called Om. You may have seen, and you also saw in the presentation, that there is a very giant big Om in our gardens over here at this temple. So anyway, that Om is just a sound symbol that represents the absolute truth. And this truth is behind all appearances. We have a stage over here, and on this stage, you may imagine somebody entering the stage, doing their little play, their dance, and when their time is up, when the music piece is over, they will just step off of the stage. Even Shakespeare said that the whole world is a stage, and we come over here and we perform our act. Scene 1, Act 5, Scene 3, Act 4, and when finally our act is over, we go. So the whole world is a stage, And names and forms come and dance in the river of time and they disappear. But without a stage, which is a constant presence, we won't be able to see the dance or the movement of life. So the substratum is what we say is the changeless truth behind all appearances. So each one of us, all living beings, all matter is none other than this absolute truth. We say that the absolute truth exists. It's a principle of existence. And especially in all of us, you who are watching me today and me speaking, through us, we have an awareness principle which is allowing me to speak and allowing you to hear and comprehend. So that awareness principle, the existence principle is also awareness. And then our purpose is not just to comprehend, but we want to be happy. And we don't want to be happy today, we don't want to be happy tomorrow, we actually want to be happy all the time. So the nature of this awareness principle is, it is self-aware and it is blissful presence. For how long? Eternally. So the existence principle is awareness principle, is a principle of joy and bliss, and it is the principle of eternity. And that's what it represents. It is the changeless truth behind all appearances. It is pure awareness, and it is once immanent and transcendent. So, immanent, we are all dancing in the river of time. And some years down the road, we will all vanish for our grandkids to replace us. And when we leave this, the transcendent, absolute takes on. So this is the play of the universe. And we have a fancy name for it. If you don't remember it, not a big deal. We just call it Brahman. Or inside we call it an embodied soul. And the universal absolute soul. So basically, it is awareness. It is in all of us. So these are various fancy names in Sanskrit, that's all. So Hinduism is not a polytheistic religion. You just saw a gamut of Hindu gods. So one may think, it is an idol worship. Yes, it is a polytheistic, whatnot. But no, the idol worship is a methodology which we employ to transcend all idols. Because in reality, we are divine. But to realize my divine awareness, this mind has difficulty in understanding subtle concepts. It needs to physically see it. It has to be tangible object. So mind works in the realm of feelings and emotions toward tangible objects. But when we have an intangible object or a concept such as God, how do we process it? It is very difficult. So we have idols that allow us to understand the transcendental by understanding the nature, the prowess, the power, so on and so forth. So Hinduism is not a polytheistic, and Hindus know that God can take many divine forms. If you go to India, it is a fest for the eyes. There are colors and people worshipping mountains and stones and rivers and animals, the 5 great elements. We have temples dedicated to space, fire, air, earth, and water. It's amazing. The 5, we have giant, massive temples dedicated to the water element, to a wind element, a fire element. So we have great amount of regard for the world which has been presented to us for you and I to enjoy. It just didn't drop out of the sky. It is a fantastic world and we recognize everything. So that's the understanding of a Hindu. Hinduism is more than monotheistic. Like I said, it is monastic. We cannot call it monotheistic. Monotheistic meaning one God who decides what is right, what is wrong, versus we feel that everything basks in the principle of awareness. How can we see God? God is everywhere. We can see Him when our minds are quiet in meditation. Thus, one of the practices which has evolved in Hinduism is yoga, and you will hear about yoga. And the practice of yoga is to still the mind so that we can apprehend the concepts, subtle concepts of all-pervading God. It's not that easy to realize that. So meditation is one of the most prevalent practice in all Eastern religions, not just Hinduism. We have Jainism, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, so many of them, and it is all going inward. And the way we go inward is by silencing our inner equipment of mind and intellect. So how can we feel God's presence? So we say that, if our mind is agitated, if you had a fight with your, boyfriend, girlfriend, if you had a fight with your parents, if you had a fight with your roommate or whoever it is, then our mind is agitated. And when we are agitated, if you go to a chemistry class or a calculus mathematics class agitated, these are very difficult concepts, of differential equations you're trying to understand when you're mad. It's not that easy. I used to teach math in college, so I would just look at kids and I could tell if they don't get it, that means there's something up here going on which is not allowing them to grasp double integrals, triple integrals. These are very heavy concepts and the mind has to be silent to absorb it. So how can we feel the presence of God? And for subtle concepts of physics and mathematics, silent mind is required. Can you imagine how silent the mind has to be to try to even make a leap for understanding God? So that mind has to be silent, but more than silent, it has to be purified, a divine mind. That means the direction of our thought flow has to be purified. Fewer thoughts, fewer good thoughts. That is the salient feature of a pure mind. And then remembering gifts and presents of the Absolute, being grateful. We may not have very many things, but the body is intact. And that is the greatest wealth. Look around with this COVID, if we are all doing well, if there is food on the table, body intact, we are blessed. So that is remembering the gifts that we possess. When we know God is with us, we will have great courage to overcome. Typically, spiritual giants have no fear because fear is of the unknown. And when you've known the truth, you fear what? Nothing. So that's why in all parts of the world, wherever there's a spiritual person, they have less fears. We have Nelson Mandela, so much inner strength it took for him to stand up and says, no apartheid. So it's the conviction of the righteousness that he stood up for. How can we feel God's presence? Spend quiet time in nature. Nature is the best healer. The best healer. We must recognize the grandeur, and we are blessed in United States. From coast to coast, we have national parks, state parks, wonderful rivers. If we can just quietly commune with each one of them, we will find great solace in it. So meditate by concentrating on an idea, a form, a thought, whatever it is. Repeating the names of the holy name Ave Maria. So in Western world also the divine Saint Francis of Assisi, he used to chant the holy name all the time. And this is how we change the direction of our thoughts. So we have saints in all parts of the world who have used all these practices. And worries, we are all overtaken by worries. That's our number one distraction. But if we really think about it, what can we do, Accept the situations in life, do your best, put the best foot forward, and have a strong belief in yourself that things will be better. That's all. So these type of ideas allow us to strengthen our inner will, and allows us to grow. Feel His presence, pray, talk to God as your best friend. I engage in dialogues, and I do it in the quietude of my own home. Nobody's watching me, otherwise someone may think, oh my God, he's gone crazy. But one of my favorite ways of communing with God is I'll open a book, Bhagavad-Gita, and the words, if they really speak to me and I'm taken aback by it, I will just have a dialogue with my own personal God. I said, what brilliant words, oh Lord, you have presented. And then whatever thoughts are running, I will give a little sermon to the statue of God in front of me. And then I become silent and I said, Lord, I have spoken, now you have to speak. And I silently sit over there, and you will be surprised. In a silent mind, divinity dawns. So these are the ways we commune. Creation arises in consciousness. We believe that the formless, nameless, qualityless consciousness manifests as the creative, preserving, dissolving power of the universe with names and forms and qualities. The world of matter arises in pure spirit. The entire world of the phenomenon forces rise, exists, and dissolves in the endless cycles of creation, preservation, and dissolution. These three forces are worshipped as the Hindu trinity Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma wedded to Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom, Vishnu wedded to the god of wealth, and Shiva wedded to the colossal power of the universe, which is capable of changing. Basically, how does the monastic philosophy work? So, from the absolute arises creation, and the creation, somebody has to create, somebody has to preserve, and then somebody has to fold it. I'll give you an example. When you go to bed, you're exhausted in the evening, you have your dinner, you sit in front of TV, you watch a little bit of Netflix, whatever it is, and then you just call it a day and go to bed. And when you go to bed, all of a sudden you have a dream. And the dream is, you have gone to Hawaii. And you go to Hawaii, you arrive over there, and you see beautiful weather, beautiful mountains, and you decide, I'm going to hike up that volcano. And you go up there, and you are with your friends, and you're thoroughly enjoying, and you come back, and then all of a sudden the dream ends. Now, when we dream a whole world. But imagine, it is your mind which is everything. The whole dream is your mind. Your mind has become Hawaii. Your mind has become the mountain. Your mind has become the ideas in your own mind that you're going to hike up the volcano. And then your mind finds satisfaction and says, enough. Let's come back down. And then the same mind wakes up and says, what a fantastic dream. So the whole thing of the creation of the dream, the sustenance and the enjoyment of the dream, and eventually the dissolving of the dream, all the power is your mind. It is your mind who did that. So in Hinduism, we have just given powers and labels to the one who creates the dream, the one who sustains the dream, and the one who dissolves the dream. Because this whole world, Hindus say, the non-dual philosophy says that the whole thing is a projection. And we have a name for this projection. It is Maya, illusion. Why is it illusion? Because it has a beginning, it has a middle, and an end. If it is truth, then it has to be there in all three periods of time. So according to Hinduism, creation is illusion. Just like our dream is also an illusion, but you have to wake up to realize, it was a dream. While in the dream, you enjoy the dream. Or a nightmare, depending upon your luck. So, the world can also turn into a nightmare. You know, some people like the politics, some people don't like the politics. See what's going on in Washington. Election year, heated, discussions. People are divided, this, that. So, this is a live dream. Versus when we dream in our bed, that's an individual dream. In Hinduism, we say that the universe is a collective dream. So if it is a collective dream, in whose mind is this collective dream? Then we say that the whole world is in his mind. That allows us to understand that everything is just one. We are just figments of imaginations in his mind, just like our dream exists within us. So, this is a complicated philosophy of the concept of Maya. The creation arises, it all arises in consciousness, meaning the mind of the absolute transcendental truth dreams the multitudes of galaxies and universes all rising within. And then he himself sustains it by his principle of awareness. So we say that the creator is Brahma. The creator, Brahma and Saraswati. So knowledge is required to create. So Brahma is wedded to wisdom. And then wealth is required to preserve. Like an architect can draw the prints to this building, a contractor can build it, and then you have enough money to have $2 million to build the building, so you build the building. But then there is a continuous cost to maintain the building. Electricity and sewer and it just goes on and on, maintaining the lawn and then taxes. Oh my God, it goes on. And then as the years go by, one hailstorm, you have to replace the roof. So there's continuous maintenance. So somebody has to provide wealth to maintain. So somebody has to provide wealth to create, wealth to preserve. But destruction, nothing is required. One lightning is enough to burn the whole thing down. So the creative forces is knowledge, is wedded to knowledge, the goddess of wisdom. The maintenance force, Vishnu, he's married to the goddess of wealth. But wealth is not just one aspect. She is 8 different forms. Food is wealth, clothing is wealth, education is wealth, children are wealth, everything is wealth. So there are 8 forms of the goddess of wealth. And then colossal power. One lightning is enough to break down. Look at California, the forests are on fire, One strike and the entire Yosemite can vanish. So this is the power of Shiva and Shakti. God's powers, we call it generator, organizer, destroyer, God. So this is Brahma, generator. And then Vishnu in the center, organizer, and then Shiva on the other side, the destroyer. So Shiva is wedded to colossal power Shakti, Vishnu is married to the goddess of wealth, and Brahma is married to the goddess of wisdom. Because wisdom is required to create, wealth is required to sustain, and then the great power to bring it all down. Okay, so that's basically what this frame says. One God worshipped in many forms. Now, we say that Hinduism is a monastic religion. Then how do you explain all these various names and forms of God? Well, you know, each one of us, when we are born, some of us become valedictorian, some of us valedictorian, some of us business venture capitalists, some of us lawyers, some of us doctors, and each one of us has a power. Each one of us are unique. So we have taken the unique powers of the universe and we have labeled, superimposed upon them, an ideal deity. That's all. That's what the gods of Hinduism represent. So we've taken an ideal person with all wisdom and we call Saraswati all knowledge. Not just book knowledge, but all different types, 64 forms of arts, music and dance, and because we are wooed when we see an opera, when we go to Broadway and we see the ability of the actor to memorize, the whole book and play it out with just beautiful acting. We even give out Tony Awards and Oscars, and we appreciate the form of art. Steven Spielberg, just his imagination is what we see on the silver screen. When we are seeing Jaws, all we are seeing is the mind of Steven Spielberg. We don't realize that. But the mind of Steven Spielberg is what we are seeing. Whichever movie, whoever the producer, director, writer. So that's what Hinduism is. We've taken these powers and we have put labels onto it. And that's what this one truth worshipped in many forms. If you happen to like music, you will know everything about music. Classical music. If you happen to like rap music, you will know everything about the rap music, including the best rappers. If you ask me about rap music, I cannot tell you even one rapper because I don't listen to it. Classical music, if you ask me, yeah, I can label, yes, my favorite, when Schubert, Handel, so things like that. Whatever power within me is prominent, I nurture it. And that power becomes worthy of worship. Who worships it? Me. Who else? So I become the foremost worshipper of my own strength. And if somebody happens to like it, then they emulate it. That's what we call role models. So this is how the entire form has come about in this. So I believe that the supreme truth is one, but can be represented and worshipped in different forms. And the supreme power assumes different types of avatars, Sadgurus. These are the ones who guide, the teachers who make us who we are in all fields from time to time. And when we do something wrong, to bring the erring humanity back into the halls of righteousness is dharma. So in this way, we can worship the truth either as the truth beyond all names and forms. So these are some Sanskrit words. The truth is one, but worshipped in so many different ways. So in this way, one God is worshipped in various forms. So we can worship God as the Father, as Vishnu or Shiva or Rama or Krishna. These are just different names. If you idolize someone, there are so many people, basketball players, a kid may idolize, and then continuously that person works on themselves to get the same type of shots, 3-pointers, 2-pointers, but it takes a lot of effort and practice. And then they're continuously comparing themselves to Curry. Why? Because he's the standard of NBA 3-pointer or whatever it may be. So that's how our concept of gods is. When we have an ideal, then we have something to work towards. And it allows us to nurture that strength within us. So the masculine strength, the feminine strength, Lakshmi, Durga, Saraswati, Shakti, we have so many different forms of the strength of the universe, the female aspect of the universe, which can be worshipped, or I can worship saints and sages. I can meditate on God as truth beyond all names and forms, but we necessarily have to go through all this to come over here. It's not that easy to just meditate on God with no name, no form, because our mind needs the training. So first we take an object and we meditate upon the qualities of object. Then we imbibe the qualities. Then we transcend the qualities. And this is how we grow. So, respect for all religions. Scriptures provide guide to life. In Hinduism, this is one religion which is not founded by one founder. The founder of Hinduism is scriptures, the revelations. It's called the Vedas. So Vedas are the ones which show us the eternal path. And so we have the scriptures known as Shrutis, they are revealed knowledge, and then Smrutis, born out of minds of divine sages. Here's one great sage, Adi Shankaracharya ji, from 6th century AD. And he has provided so much literature and commentary on revelations, and that is called Smriti, born out of great sages who give us path to reach the truth. Okay? Scriptures speak of the 4 goals, material goals, entertainment, fun, righteousness, and spiritual goals. So each one of our lives, this is what we go for, you know. Each one of us, you guys have come to college, education. Why education? So that you can put yourself at more ease with the material world. You can incur more wealth. Why more wealth? So that you can live comfortably and enjoy life. But at the same time, if we do it on the path of righteousness, we will have more lasting peace in our mind. So these are the goals which are presented. And then what is the purpose of human birth? Have we just come over here? I mean, birds also, they build nests and they lay eggs and they incubate and they feed the little chicks and then they fly away. And the cycle repeats every spring. Even birds do that. Animals do that. So is that what we have come over here to do? So Hindus say, no, we have come over here for a greater purpose. What is the greater purpose? Moksha. What is moksha? Enlightenment. That I should not be trapped in the narrowness of mind. The narrowness of mind is the cage that is spun around us. We want to expand. So moksha is a fancy word of the internal expansion of our mind. That's all. And that's called liberation. I'm not caged in some ideologies. I'm free. I'm free of all types of bondage, and that freedom, absolute freedom, is what is known as moksha. And then there is the student life and the householder life and the retired life and the renunciate monk's life. So we have the society which is also divided. In the interest of time, I just wanted to introduce, that's all. The self is pure awareness, and now we are coming to the embodied soul. So we are the same embodied soul. And that soul within me is the infinite self which upholds infinite galaxies, not just Milky Way, billions of galaxies. All that is within me. That's a lot. And that's where I have to reach. That is who I am. By birth, each one of us, we are this divine soul. By nature, we are happy, wise, and free. But if we identified with the body, we are limited. If we are identified with the limited objects the body can acquire, we have very few things. So, this is to allow us to understand that if I am that absolute, I need to come out of all these bondage born out of ignorance. So, and then the embodied soul, necessarily we in Hinduism feel we have to go through multiple births to shed our desires. Our desires bind us. And when we grow in knowledge and wisdom, we don't go after little things, material things in life. We grow and stand tall on the platform of contentment. And it is the absolute contentment which is freedom. That is called moksha. Goal of life tells us that we have to realize our true nature. We are infinite. We have to realize that. This awakening to truth frees us from all needs and unhappiness from birth to death, and that itself is liberation. And until the soul realizes, each one of us, we will go through various incarnations according to Hinduism until we come to the acme of understanding, where a person just walks out of a regular cycle of birth and death by realizing, I am that. And that is called sannyas, the one who renunciates. Now, these are some of the doctrines. The biggest doctrine unique to Hinduism is the law of karma, theory of karma. Our past births and our future births, it's all determined by this simple doctrine of karma. You know, what you do unto others is what you reap in your life, basically. So we believe in karma, the law of cause and effect, accepting that I am the creator of our own destiny, that our present condition is due to our past thoughts, words, deeds, and conducts, and that our future mental state will depend on our past, present actions and thoughts. So thus, in Hinduism, we pay utmost regard to every single thing we do, including how we remove our slippers outside. Those slippers, our shoes, they are protecting us. Somebody's made them. An animal has died to provide that leather, and I'm using it. It's not just some material that I picked up from a shoe store. So now I acknowledge it, and it's allowing me to go to places. It's keeping my feet protected. When I enter a home, when I leave it, I remove my slippers, and nicely placed over there. See, we even create our karmic debt with inanimate objects, material objects like computers. I can easily work nicely with it, or I can disregard it, bang it, throw it. You know, it's just a material object. When I go to Lake Travis in Austin, I never throw stones in the lake. And when people are skipping stones, it bothers me, because I don't think of it as a lake. I think of it as the water god. And I don't throw stones in it. I have great regard that I'll be disturbing the silence of the water god in meditation. Unnecessarily, I don't break a tree, because now all these concepts, whatever's around us, a chair, you can gently pick up a chair, utilize it, because for that 1 hour that I sit, it is serving a purpose. So this is how deep the law of karma is. How I put my cloth for laundry, how I fold it. Somebody has, a farmer has plowed the fields, sown the cotton plant. His wife has tirelessly put scarecrows so that animals don't disturb it. Then she has plucked it, taken it to the cotton mill. The seeds are removed, it is cleansed, threads are made, somebody weaved it, somebody dyed it, somebody brought it to the store. Then my devotee worked so hard, earned money, purchased that cloth, and said, Swamiji, here you go, these are your monastic robes. So this cloth, so many people have touched it. When I put it on my body, so many people have touched it. These are the thumbprints of karmic debts. So when I pick up this cloth, I should have great regard. Otherwise, I can just dump it and throw it. The hard work of all these people is gone to waste. And now I have created in this universe a little mark of karmic debt. I disregarded somebody's hard work. Somebody has to work so hard to earn money and give me a robe. And if I wear it once and just toss it, then... so this is the awareness with which a Hindu lives a life of karma. You imagine, we have stone statues in the temple and they are worshipped. And the stone right next to that in the quarry in the mountain, you imagine, it becomes a tile in the bathroom. One stone becomes a tile in the bathroom, one stone becomes a statue. One is worshipped and the other one is stepped upon. Even stones have destinies. So destiny, creator, is the concept of the law of karma. We believe that the karmic laws are the gift of this universe, Lord, and they have been designed to lead us to self-realization. This is how we come to self-realization, by accepting everything, having regard for it, and leaving it where we found it, without disturbing it. This is how karma allows us to interact with this world. Now, dharma. Now, part of the flip side of the coin of karma is dharma. Why do I respect it? Because it serves a purpose. Why do I have regard for my shoes? Because they serve a purpose. The dharma of the shoe is to protect my feet. So because it has a dharma, I have to respond to it properly by proper karma. So dharma and karma are two sides of the same coin. They're inseparable. So karma works. The laws of karma, they work because there is a law of being. Everything has a law of being. Whether an animate object or an inanimate object, everything has its own purpose. I think that's good enough for that. For yogas, we have so many different paths to reach the enlightenment. We have the path of proper action, what I talked about, the way I live my life, how I regard my cloth, how I regard my slippers, or how I regard my computer, even my water bottle. The other day I dropped it from my hand and it dented, and I felt so bad. And someone may think, the other person says, Swamiji, I'll just get you a new one. I said, absolutely not. The lady who gave this to me, I know how hard she has worked to buy this bottle and give it to me. So absolutely I'm not going to toss this bottle away. But then I should have been a little bit more careful and not dropped it. So it brought me back into awareness that you lost your awareness, that's why you dropped it. This is how we process our life. This is how we internally become more awakened. Most of us are asleep while awake, and we have to wake ourselves up. And the process of waking ourselves up in the manifested world is through proper association of action. How I greet someone. It's not just the physical personality's greeting. Our word is namaste. The divinity within is recognizing. And not just a being, a computer. I have somebody who works in Apple and says, "Oh, Swamiji, I'll get you another one." I said, "Absolutely not. This is working just fine. I'm not a software engineer where, I need some high-power computer. Just some presentations here, there, some email. More than enough. Why do I need brand new computer for it?" So, this allows us to process world, objects, people, situations properly, the yoga of action. Then, the yoga of action cannot work without the yoga of devotion. We have to have devotion towards the world, the creator, the created, in order for us to improve our action. So, this devotion allows us to process and make us humans. Devotion. Otherwise, a dog is also conscious. He looks at you and he wags his tail and he barks at you, and it's a friendly bark, And when he sees a squirrel outside, it's a different type of bark. So even a dog is conscious. But we are much more than that. We are capable of expressing devotion. A dog also is very faithful. But the height to which we can take our mind and intellect is great in the human birth. Raj Yoga, it is a synthesis of pranayam. Mr. Jean will talk more about the yogas over here. And then the yoga of knowledge and wisdom. That is the highest, when knowledge transforms us. Okay, so that's it. This is pretty much remembering God. Hinduism is, and then the last one, Om. I really thank Baylor University. This is, I believe, my 8th, 9th year doing it. I thank all of you for allowing me to share my thoughts on Hinduism. And I really appreciate all of you on Saturday dialing in and listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Namaste.
It'll just take a moment to get set up here, but Swamiji, I don't know if I ever told you this, but as a youth, I would always go to Monroeville, to the mall there. You're probably not even born yet, but in the 60s, I would go there because it was really the first mall in the entire Pittsburgh area, and it had a wonderful skating rink. So give us just a moment. Everybody can stand up, and we've been sitting a long time. And we'll get set up here. Just a second. Next slide. It's kind of old school. All right. Namaste. And as Swamiji said, that means that I bow to that divinity that is reflected in each one of you. My name is Gene Silverblatt, and I just got to tell you, that is a tough act to follow, Swamiji. But I'll try to give you some of my perspective on things. I mean, let's start with, what is yoga? What do you think about when you hear that word? Probably someone doing exercises in the studio. But did you know that yoga and its associated meditation practices has been around for thousands of years and involves techniques of prayer, meditation, and really a way of life. So since it's been around for thousands of years, don't you think it behooves us just to maybe find out a little bit more about what it's all about? I mean, if you were to focus in on the subject for countless generations, and to, as they have with mind and spirit, I think it's important, it behooves all of us to at least take some time to learn more about it and see what they've come up with. And that's what I did. I was, next slide please. I had read a book about the practitioners of yoga called yogis, and I was maybe your age, more or less, 19, a sophomore in college. And this is way before Google, before the internet and cell phones. And I just realized that I had to convince my parents, my friends, and in my case, the United States Army that was paying for my college to let me do a study abroad program in India for 6 months so that I could learn as much as possible about these yogis and what they may have discovered. That was 45 years ago, and I am still learning. I mean, at that critical time in my life, I was trying to figure out what my purpose was. And I learned about this ancient yet perfect way of living life that is very suitable for the stresses of modern life. So you heard Swamiji say, although the yoga is a main mystical part of Hinduism, yoga, sense control, and meditation is really the very essence of Sanatana Dharma, or eternal truth, that can be practiced by anybody of any religion or spirituality or none at all. The yoga literally means union and teaches us how to return back to that natural state of union with God, whose image we are made in or a reflection of. It is the reuniting of soul with the universal spirit. The quintessential teachings of yoga can be found in the Hindu scripture called the Bhagavad-Gita. Next slide, please. As you read its teachings, you learn how to apply the various forms of yoga to the battles of life that we must all face. These forms of yoga, as Swamiji just went over, include devotion, selfless service, eternal wisdom, and the royal path of meditation and inner communion with God. But again, as he said, it's more of an integral yoga where they all feed off one another. So when you deepen in meditation, for example, you open your heart in devotion to God and see God behind all things and joyfully serve God in all. A deep peace and eventually bliss beyond time and space emerges. A peace that passeth all understanding is experienced. Worries dissolve. Yoga states that because our true soul nature has moved into the world of consciousness and then further out into the world or dimension of energy, and then even further out into the material or physical world, it has enmeshed itself in living through the limited sense perceptions that deal with the world, and is further bound and controlled by habit desires. Call it likes and dislikes. So, in a sense, we were endowed with free will, but we misuse that because we keep choosing identification with the fragile ego mind and let our desires and our fears control us. And we turn away from the very subtle but very real experiences of the divine realms. Next slide. Okay, let's go one more. Okay, thank you. Yoga, realized masters describe the descent of the soul into the sensory-bound body and mind, and practical ways that we can reverse that process. As you've heard, the original prana energy comes from the vibration or word of God called Om by the Hindus, in which all things were made, and which is God itself. So it's not wrong to relate to it as like the Holy Ghost. As you can see there, the consciousness enters into the body through the medulla oblongata at the back of the base of the brain, and travels down the physical spine through the more subtle or astral spine called the Sushumna, and the trapdoors, if you will, called the chakras that you see in this picture, and then out into the nerves and the sensations and the five senses. So yoga then teaches or shows actual techniques for withdrawing that energy back into the chakras, back into Sushumna, and raising it back up to its source. With deep concentration at the single spiritual eye between the two physical eyes, and Dr. Wyvie mentioned this, the body becomes full of light. So it's very reminiscent of Jesus' comment, "If thine eye be single, thy body shall be full of light." The royal yogic path of meditation and life skills is probably best laid out by the sage Patanjali, who said there are clear steps to reach that state of union, starting with acting properly in the outer world through certain acts that are encouraged or discouraged, called yama and niyama. And then we have the exercises that help us calm the body and prepare it for prolonged stillness, which is essential for deep meditation. And what we think of as those yoga postures. And this is followed by control of the life force called prana. So its control is pranayama. And using all that to interiorize the mind in meditation called pratyahara. And that leads us to true meditation and finally ecstatic union with God called samadhi. So to kind of sum up here, and then we're going to practice a little meditation. Yoga and its associated meditation practices is quite methodical and really, in my mind, does not ask for faith, but does insist or assert that when we practice with sincerity, results will be experienced. So what I find so appealing about this ancient tradition is that it is logical, sequential, and replicable. The ecstatic states of joy, love, peace, wisdom have been attested to by its practitioners for millennia. It is also, as I mentioned, universal to all religious practices. So, realizing our eternal union with God through yoga, we can be happy and free from the physical and mental sufferings in all circumstances. We can be calm amidst the breaking of crashing worlds. So, in meditation, I relax and learn to cast aside all my mental burdens, allowing God to express through me his perfect love, peace, and wisdom. And then outside of meditation, it teaches me not to be bounced around by my emotions, my habits, my mind, my desires, my senses, or whatever the world throws at me. So, to me, this is India's unique contribution to the world. So next, let's go back a slide. Can we do that? So I want to stop talking about it and let's just do it. We're not going to do it for long. It's not going to be hours of meditation, but just follow with me. Everybody in the room can do this. It'll only be 5 minutes. Let's sit in hopefully a chair where we can sit up. It's important that we keep the spine straight. And so that's good. It's probably preferable that you sit away from the back of the chair if you can, feet flat on the floor, or if you're on the ground, you can do it cross-legged if you want to. Now it's important that your head is kept straight. Remember, this is all about the spine and energy, so we don't want to pinch our nerves or anything, so we're sitting back. The hands can rest very comfortably on your thighs, maybe palms upturned, just so that the shoulders are gently pulled back. Again, opens up the chest cavity. Okay. Now just close your eyes and focus on your breath for a moment. So you're just going to feel the breath coming in and out. Now to relax the mind, let's breathe in deeply through the nose to a count to 10 or 15, whatever is comfortable. Just breathe in deeply, hold for the same count. Now slowly breathe out to the same count through the mouth. Do the same. We're going to do this on your own 3 times. Just breathe in through the nose, nice and deep. Hold. And then breathe out through the mouth. One more time. And then when you're done, just breathe normally. Notice already, just our mind is a lot calmer. Now to calm the body, we're going to do something else. Let me describe it. We're just going to breathe in with a double breath and then tighten up our body. Just clench our fist, tense the body. We'll hold for a short count of 6, and then we'll breathe out through the mouth with a double breath. Okay, so let's try this. Let's breathe in with a double breath through the nose. Clench your fists and tense the body. Hold for a moment. Now just breathe out with a double breath. Breathe in again, intense. Hold. And breathe out with a double breath, just relaxing. One more time. Let's breathe in, intense. Hold. And exhale with a double breath. Now, just relax while keeping your posture. Just check your body. Eyes are closed. So relax your face, your throat, your chest, your arms, your torso, thighs, calves, feet. Just check your body for any tension that brings your consciousness outward to the sensory world. It's very important to be relaxed. We want to interiorize. Eyes are still closed. Now we're just going to practice an affirmation. Just repeat after me in a regular voice. Okay? The people around you don't matter. Just repeat. I relax and cast aside all my mental burdens, allowing God to express through me His perfect love, peace, and wisdom. Now again in a softer voice, I relax and cast aside all my mental burdens, allowing God to express through me His perfect love, peace, and wisdom. Okay, just a whisper now. I relax and cast aside all my mental burdens, allowing God to express through me His perfect love, peace, and wisdom. Now just repeat mentally as I say, I relax and cast aside all my mental burdens, allowing God to express through me His perfect love, peace, and wisdom. Just feel the peace. And we're just going to do a very short visualization. Just feel the peace expanding out of your heart. Mentally extend your consciousness out in front of you. Feel that peace just moving out to fill the room, to fill the neighborhood, to fill the world. Just mentally imagine it miles out. Now the same behind you. Just going out, bathing the world behind you in peace. Do the same to the left and to the right. Now up above, this peace is just expanding out into the atmosphere and down below you, all around you, filling the world with that peace vibration. Expand it out beyond the world, beyond the moon, the planets, the galaxy. Keep going out beyond the solar system, the Milky Way. That feeling of peace is permeating galaxies and universes. That is the aspect of God as peace. It turns into joy, happiness, bliss. Just feel that you are that calmness, that stillness. Om, peace, Shanti. Amen. Open your eyes. Okay, can we do the next slide? Sorry. That's what we can give to ourselves, to our world. That's tuning in a little bit in just 5 minutes to that divinity that's within us, all around us, and then projecting that out into the world. Next slide. Thank you. That's great. God bless you all. All right. We'll find out is there a conclusion? Professors?
Thank you all for being here and for hosting our event and teaching our students. We have about 10 minutes left, and we can, you have access to this Zoom webinar link where you can send in some questions. And if you will do that, we'll ask the questions for about 10 minutes here, and then we will wrap things up.
Yes, we have a question about the temple architecture. It's a general question about a little bit more about the meaning of the architectural features outside, perhaps the entrances and the deities depicted outside.
When we design our Rajagopuram in the architecture, we'll put the pictures of the deities, we put the pictures of the deities on the Rajagopuram. Usually on the front, we'll put the pictures of the main deity, that is Ganesha, and generally on the two sides, we provide pictures of the other deities. That is a common tradition, because when somebody walks into a temple, they would like to know what is the main deity. But if you see our Rajagopuram, we have almost all the
steeples. The steeple. When you say Rajagopuram, they don't know what it is.
the Rajagopuram is the trapezium structure, that is the entrance, that is the main entrance on which these designs are done on front and both sides. They are made in concrete, they are not stucco, they are made on site when they are building the Rajagopuram.
I'll come up here. Another architecture question before we go into more philosophical questions is, someone asks, what do you think are the two most important architectural features of a Hindu temple?
The Rajagopuram is the very important thing, and the Dhvajastambha. The sanctum is the most important thing, but only when you enter the temple you will see. But from outside, if you want to see, the Rajagopuram is the most important. That is the royal entrance, Rajagopuram. And the pole, you see that pole is the symbol of a temple. And in the olden days, hundreds of years ago, that is the only pole that recognizes there is a temple in community. And people that coming into community, if they need help, they'll come to the temple, they'll be fed, they'll be given place to sleep, and any help, assistance is needed, that is happening to the temple.
One for Swamiji. For worshiping God as father or mother, what are the different male or female strengths within those deities?
The worship of manifested form of father and mother, we see the masculine and the feminine energy. The masculine energy is the representation of the support which is given. So when we look at any masculine deities, the substratum support is what is referred to it. When we look at the feminine energy, we say mother nature, mother creation. So when we say the mother aspect, it is the nurturing aspect of the creation. It is the expression aspect of the creation. So when we are worshipping the masculine and the feminine and the feminine aspects in Hinduism refer to the support and the expression. So that is what is taken on when we worship, for example, Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth. She's beauty personified. She is food, material, wealth, all different aspects of fulfillment to nurture a family. When we look at the goddess of wisdom, it is by wisdom, the royal path which was talked about as yoga, we calm ourselves in wisdom. Wisdom makes us quiet, more pensive, more inward going. So that is the aspect of creation which allows us to transform. When we talk about Vishnu, the power to stand up and put forth an avatar. An avatar, a manifestation for standing up for something right, for dharma, for righteousness, for well-being. So when we stand up for it, that is what Bhagavan Vishnu represents. I wanted to make one more quick note regarding the architectures of the temples. In India, the temple is a reminder that the human body itself is a temple. So the human body is taken, and imagine this carpet, the head is over there and the feet are over here. What Dr. Y.V. Rao was talking about, Raj, Gopuram and all those things, the entrance, go meaning senses. So our senses allows us to experience this world. So the entrance is by the feet, and as we rise in various aspects, various places in the human body, various things in the temple are placed. The sanctum sanctorum is actually right over here, the third eye, the eye of the wisdom, the eye of awareness, consciousness, which is what the deity represents. So that's how the temples are built. And they are in different architectures. When we see the South Indian Tamil Nadu temple architecture, it's one of the southern states of India. It represents the human form. When we go to Kerala, it is perfect geometry, square. And that represents the layers of our personality. We have the physical layer as the body, then the second layer is the mental sheet, the third layer is the intellect, and we cross until we come to the innermost, which is awareness. So this is how temples are built to help us realize that this is the greatest temple that we possess.
Why is moksha the goal of Hindu religion?
Moksha, enlightenment, absolute freedom is the goal of Hinduism because it allows the roof and crown of creation, the human being, to express its most deepest potential. And the potential of creativity, the potential of love, compassion, living in harmony, it brings out the best in us. Even if we don't realize or reach enlightenment, the path of going towards makes us a divine human being. Even if we may not reach moksha, but when we practice what you saw about these beautiful yogic practices, at least we become, to some extent, kinder, nobler, and a divine person. Thank you.
We have time for one more?
Sure.
Murder. How do you explain bad deeds and like murder, and what can be done?
Yes, when we have any form of manifestation, we see two things. I am here, you are there. And when there are duality, in duality, we see good and bad. But to understand good as good and bad as bad, we necessarily, the observer, observing good and bad, we have to necessarily step apart from both good and the bad. So we have to realize that we are much beyond the good and the bad. And the good is a relative good, and the bad is relative bad. We have to understand that, to realize that, we have to become good to begin with, because what is good harbors life, protects life, spreads the peace that we were talking about. When we transcend the human experience and we go out beyond, the transcendence is absolute good. So a relative good is a stepping stone to the absolute good. So we must become good. And when we become good and we keep on climbing the scale of goodness, we see the bad, we realize that it's part of the world. What can we do? We must be compassionate towards it.
There's one more. There seems to be several students that really resonated with them, what you said about treating objects in a respectful manner, even if we view them as inanimate objects. And then, especially today's world, we're thinking about sustainability. Yes. What do you do with objects when they no longer have the purpose that they were intended to have? Can we reuse them in a way, and how should they be treated?
Yes, I'm reminded of my guru, Swami Chinmayananda. His guru, Swami Tapobanji Maharaj, he hailed from Kerala, a very divine soul. He lived in the Himalayas his entire life, really frigid, cold place. And he came from Kerala, which is quite hot and humid. And he had difficulty adjusting over there. But he said, I must get over heat and cold. And he just kept two pairs of clothing. That's all he had his entire life. And when the piece of cloth would literally just wither away into shreds, he would take that piece of cloth and he would dig a hole and he would put his ochre robe in the earth, and he would chant 1 or 2 prayers to the ochre robe for protecting this body. And it is that standard that I try to imbibe in my life, that even when material objects have done their drama in our life, we must acknowledge the gifts that they have presented to us. A simple cloth has sheltered us. So when we look at our closet and we see 36 pairs of jeans, is it really required to have 36 pairs of jeans? So then what we do is, okay, whatever is required, we keep, and if it is not, let us give it to people who don't have it. This way, we don't tax upon the earth, the Mother Earth, on natural resources. Economics is, allocations of scarce resources. But if I live my life within my own bounds, there is ample on this earth for everyone's needs, but there is not enough on this planet for one man's greed.
Thank you very much. I think we're drawing close to the end, and I just want to thank you, Swamiji, again as always. Thank you very much, and to everybody at the Hindu temple for hosting us again and again, and for going above and beyond this year in the time of this pandemic to really educate us and our students. We greatly appreciate it, and we hope to continue this relationship for many years. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
You did a great job. Thank you.
I was wondering how this is going to go, but Sriram, it's a nice one.
Yeah, it was. It was spectacular. Thank you. I look forward to seeing what the students will write to us. Write about it.
But see, I'm much older.